been a while, but we're back in action. Um,
Yeah, we should do these more, and it's my fault. I'm not a big podcast guy, but we did a couple people just reached out to us recently about this particular podcast, and they saw it about the promo. So it definitely reaches people.
oh yeah, oh definitely. Oh, especially the people that we work with. So, in particular, before we go any further, we both have it in our line below, myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. I do want to talk quickly about there is an option for the first time up there for those of you who are, hey, you say, I want to do this. I don't, I don't know if I can pay all up front. I have added a monthly option. It's more expensive, but per month, versus it's a big discount if you do it up front for a year or 6 months. But if you want to do the monthly option, it obviously you don't have to come all out of pocket, and it really gives you the option to get into the program now. Like you don't even have to have a discussion with us, and you can get in the program, get on there. You could see how it's rolling. It is a 12-month or 6 month commitment. That's up to you, but you'll be able to pay on a monthly basis, and that's right online on myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. We are getting a lot of athletes that are coming on the promo that not just are excellent players, but we also have some unique players that are coming and it's an opportunity. I can't tell you how many discussions I get into with parents on it, and if you go to myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo, you'll see the testimonials. We're just beginning to put them up. We already have a bunch, but I can't tell you how many parents, once they understand the program, they're like, "Wow!" I mean, this is a unique thing. And look, we've said it thousands of times, but again, the beard that's gray in my beard and the beard that's gray in Mike Farrell's, this is the great opportunity from the relationships we've built, the following we've built, and it's in the millions. And it's not a brag thing. It's this will help you leverage us to help you. You're going to get the analysis that we do on your film, which is always beneficial to you because we point out the things that we think are unique about your skill set. All right. And then the great thing is the coaches that come across it, they watch the videos of Mike and mine, and they say, "Hey, yeah, I agree with them. Let me look a little further into this player." I disagree with these guys, okay? But the bottom line is that this is going to get you the exposure to get you into that type of situation, and those relationships are huge. And we leverage social media like nobody else in the industry because of the algorithm, because of our following, and it helps you, the athlete. Now, listen, if you come to me and you're just trying to start on your varsity team, that obviously this program is not for you. But if you're someone that's looking to get a scholarship, to get an opportunity, we've helped all those guys in that sweet spot that really um, looked for that opportunity. And we were just talking about somebody before offline that was in our I think our year program, right? And then in month 7 or 8, um, had committed to Wake Forest, and by the way, the offers don't stop coming in just because you commit, so he's got more possible opportunities, and it could be as big as it comes.
Yeah, I'm actually DMing with a kid right now. So so everybody, you could be a seventh grader, or sixth grader, whatever. I've talked to parents of those kids. I've got Andrew Kern and BB Brown and some of those guys who are getting on the radar now, and like legitimately getting on the radar. Kern just visited Georgia Tech for a camp. He's been part of our social media program. And what it is, we do an evaluation of your video initially, but we'll retweet stuff. That's important. So if you go on a visit to Georgia Tech or go to a camp at Georgia Tech, well, guess who's going to notice that? other ACC teams that compete with Georgia Tech. Maybe Georgia, that's a little, high up there, but other Division One programs. So if you go to a Miami of Ohio camp and we retweet it, other schools that follow what's happening at Miami of Ohio are going to say, well, maybe we need to get this kid at a camp at Buffalo. That's part of it. So that's the younger kids. Then you've got the kids, sophomore year, 2025s, 2026s, who need the boost to get attention. We do analysis of their videos, we'll retweet, summer workouts, anything they're doing that we feel is pertinent, we'll retweet and keep them out there. We've had two guys, Gavin Marshallek, 2026 quarterback, has now had articles written up by a Syracuse website on, I think it was 24/7 and Rivals. Cash Ferris, the safety from Arkansas, just had an article written up by Syracuse. They were both up at the Syracuse camp this past weekend. They didn't get to connect, which kind of sucks because I would have liked to see that they tried to. The camp was so big and there were so many kids, but those are camps they probably would have never been invited to, never been on the radar for. And now they're, they've got their profiles on these other websites and they've got articles being written about them. And that's just part of it. It's not part of what we try to do or promote, but it's a side effect. Then there's the other ones. I was just DMing with a kid. He's got Group of 5 offers. He's got Liberty, South Alabama, some others, right? He wants Power 5 and he can't get over the hump. Pitt's interested, but they haven't sent him, a committable offer. He's just there. And he was, reaching out to me, not about the social media promotion, just about, these are the offers I got. I'm getting close to Power 5, but I'm not there yet. And I told him we have the program, and we've had guys like Parker Meese, who have gotten Power 5 offers. Andy Jaffe is the one we just talked about. He got Wake Forest, and he committed to Wake Forest. I think he also got Pitt and a couple others, Duke, maybe while we were promoting him. Now he's visited Oklahoma and Ole Miss. So now he's in the bigger stratosphere. I mean, Oklahoma and Ole Miss are like, that's big time Power 5. And he's probably going to choose between those two or stick with his Wake Forest commitment. There's those guys. And if you're at Group of 5 and you want to get over the hump of Power 5, we can help you do that 100% for sure. If you're at FCS and you want to get to Group of 5, we can help you do that. There's always levels. But I tell, I was talking to another kid who's a 2028 or 2027. He talked to his parents about it. And I said, listen, they're going to wait till next year. I said, that's fine. Wait till next year. I said, but not for nothing. I wouldn't, because there's other 2027s in your class that are probably going to take advantage of this and get ahead of you. And it's not a competitive thing between clients, but waiting makes no sense. Just pay the $1,000 for the year now. And then if you like it, re-up $1,000 next year. But that's kind of where it's about. It's like any walk of life. Chaz Middleton, the JUCO kid, the talented kid. If you watch the film, 6'5", 205.
Yes.
Didn't play a lot in high school. Didn't play a lot at his D2 school, but has all the skills. So we put out his camp videos of him, making catches out of high school, making catches out of he was at the Mora camp up at UConn, I think. And someone's going to notice that and see 6'5", 205 who runs a 4.6 40. They're gonna notice him, and he's coming from nowhere. So if you're coming from nowhere, you're coming from somewhere. You want to get over that hump, even if you've got Power 5 offers. Like Andy Jaffe had Power 5 offers before he came to us. Parker Meese had Power 5. If you want more, and I'm not saying we're responsible for Andy Jaffe getting Oklahoma and Ole Miss, but it didn't hurt. So really, there's any place you can come from D2 all the way up to Power 5, it's going to help you. And it's proven to help you. We've got the testimonials. But now that this has become so busy, and this is the first time I can say it's busy, where it's like, okay, I got to work really hard to keep up with this stuff. Now that I've seen in year 2, essentially, that it's this busy, it's legit, it's real, it's going to be a staple of this industry. And it's going to be a staple very soon.
Yeah, and this is we're going to continue to expand how we're doing it, to bring in more people that can help more people. So this is an opportunity for the athletes, because social media is where the coaches initially, Twitter in particular, okay, is where the coaches, especially the positional graduate assistant, those guys are living on there, sifting through prospects that come through. And if something gets brought to their forefront because they have someone they respect and there's a following, they're going to take a look, and that's what you're leveraging here. We've just brought wait till you do your video on Christian Soltis, okay? Who was at IMG Academy, is now at Hun School. Last year, I mean, the phenomenal athlete, plays on our my 7-on-7 club. I mean, he just tore it up. He's six
He was
three.
just at Duke, right?
He was at Duke. He was just at NC State. Ran 4.5 at NC State at 6'3", 200. And great route runner. He's at the Hunt School, right? A lot of he's in he's a 2025. He's in a similar situation where the Enlos is, right? That's a place that has a million offered guys, highest level offered guys, and he's a Division One prospect. The great NC State pulled him out of the camp. Dave Dorn, that's the head coach, right?
Yep. Yep.
Dave
So
Dorn.
he follows me, by the way. Just not
Yep,
bragging, but just an example.
yep. And he pulled three players out of the camp to go up and meet with him, and he was one of them. Um, and I can't make an announcement of where he is there, but he's in a great situation. And now Nebraska reached out. Just I happened to, reached out to me. I had spoken with them just because it's someone I know who used to be, and then you just to be the. EJ Barthel used to run the NUC camps for the Northeast. He's the running back coach and one of the top recruiters in the country, right? And he was an NUC. He was literally the Northeast camp director when we had grown so fast and I couldn't be everywhere. He ran our events for 4 or 5 years, and he's the Nebraska running back coach, and he's taking a look. So these are the kind of things that happen very quickly in some cases for a player who has obviously the tools, and it's going to be a very short order before he starts to get offers.
Was
And
that
then
just to interrupt real quick?
yeah,
Xander Coleman was at Nebraska.
I saw
You know,
that.
I mean, you know EJ. I know Matt Rule. I know Mike Wallace, who's the personnel guy, who was Rule's personnel guy at Baylor. Um, Casado is there. I mean, just this is the thing. Like, just by accident, I know everybody at that staff, and they all come together. But just I met I think it's Calzado. No. Oh, what's his name? Gosh, this is awful. I see this is a problem being old. I forget names, but his kid was at IMG. His kid went to Ohio State, then transferred to UNC. His dad, runs some high school stuff. Now his son runs high school stuff with him, and he works at Nebraska. Matt Rule, of course, I knew at Temple, and then he went to Baylor and then went to Carolina, and now he's at Nebraska. Just Mike Wallace, I knew he was Sharif Floyd's high school football defensive line coach. Like, just having years of experience, you're just going to know people. Like EJ, you've known forever because he used to work with you. And it's not like we're going to reach out to these guys. It's not what we do. It's just, but if they reach out to us, of course, like, if Mike Wallace says, what do you know about Xander Coleman? I'm like, you're going to like him. He's a big kid. He could play middle. He could play stand up, or he could grow into an edge. He's an effort kid. He's not, a 5-star. He's not a 4-star. He's probably a 3-star mid. Nobody knows about him really. You're going to get a kid that's going to work his butt off for you. Who's probably going to be very loyal to your program. Not going to be a transfer portal jump-in kid. You take a kid like Xander versus some kid from Florida who's similar athleticism, and he comes up to Nebraska. He's going to bolt. Xander's not going to. We'll tell him stuff like that if they reach out to us. And we know everybody.
Let's talk about this. So, like with Xander, right? Xander went to Stanford. Griffin Egan, you remember the line we just did?
Yeah, he's starting to blow up.
He already has. He went out to Stanford also. Much like Xander, he had a great camp at Stanford. He has Colgate, Lehigh, UPenn, Dartmouth. I mean,
yeah, Ivy. I know. I saw that.
And Wagner. Yeah, that's 5 offers in when I spoke with his father, he came to my April 16th camp. Okay, it wasn't his father; it was his uncle. I spoke with his uncle, and he said, "Can I talk to you if you have any?" I saw a little bit about your program, but I wasn't sure. Can we talk? And I said, "Sure." And his uncle had played. I think he played like what would be equivalent of FCS. His uncle was big like he is, like 6'4", 6'5". Well, Egan's like 6'6", but so I got on the phone with him and I explained the program. I said, Griffin is a kid like frame, just as 6'6", 260, like with like abs. He could probably gain 50 pounds if he plays offensive line in college with and not even look like gained any weight. But he had said, do you think this would? I said, listen, I watched Griffin move at the camp. He's excellent. I said, this will point out all the things that he does well that are different and differentiate him. And I mean, literally within a month, he started picking up offers, and it was also a really good timing. Right, April 16th was when they could start going on campus. I think we had his video out before the end of the month, and he started picking up his first offer, and now it's starting to roll. And he did great at Stanford. I just posted a video of him at I think it was Stanford's camp where he was just doing phenomenal. And so this is how it happens. It's not rocket science, but it's leverage, right? It really is leverage. You're leveraging, like I said earlier, the two gray guys that have been around the industry for a long time. And we've done a great job with our own social media development. So all of these people follow us. Like we've done a great job. It's taken many, many years of development to do that. Not just from our experience and knowledge and what we did, but also cultivating the relationships so people want to follow, so they are getting the content that they desire.
Well, it's a lot of in person. I mean, I traveled to 100 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
traveled to Eastern Pennsylvania to go see Sharif Floyd in person. And who did I meet? I met Mike Wallace, and he was he was handling Sharif's recruitment at the time. And Sharif, when I first met him, had UConn in Maryland, and ended up with 50 offers. 5-star kid, went to Florida, drafted first round by the Vikings, blah blah blah. But I met Mike Wallace, and I met him in person, and we continued a relationship. And all these years later, now Mike is in the college world, and he was at Baylor. And when Rule left to Carolina, Mike was out of work, and he was a guy that, oh yeah, if I hear anything, I'll let you know, and I'll put in a word for you or whatever. And now he lands at Nebraska. That's an in-person relationship that was cultivated years ago and continues to this day. You're not going to get that from anybody else. Just not. Sorry. You can sign up for all these other places and stuff like that, but they're not going to be able to, have that relationship with a Mike Wallace who's in charge of the recruiting department in Nebraska, and have him, ask me a question because he trusts me about this kid or that kid, that we're promoting. And that's just every school. There's not a school that I could think of. And like I said, not everybody's in love with me or likes to talk to me or whatever. But I know everybody. Jaffe, he's either going to go to Oklahoma or Ole Miss. I can name like 6 or 7 coaches at each school that I've known for years and years and years. Doesn't mean they like me. Doesn't mean they are friends with me. Doesn't mean we exchange birthday presents. But they know me. We're from Brent Venables to Lane Kiffin. I know Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin follows me. Lane Kiffin,
Brent follows me. Yeah.
Brent Venables, I've met in person a billion times.
Me too.
He follows me. It's like, you're just not going to get it. So what we do, for those people who don't know, is we'll take your video, we'll cut it up. The one we did on, whether you have a lot of film or don't have a lot of film, we're going to take what you have, whether it's workout videos mixed in with film, or whether it's high school film mixed in with, a college practice or camp. And then we're going to do a talk over analysis of it, put it out there, going to put it out there numerous times. And then whatever happens with you, we're going to retweet it or quote tweet it, or you're just going to get in a different algorithm. You're going to get a different level of mentions. And it doesn't matter whether things happen for you fast or not. Eventually something's going to happen. I'm not saying, Ole Miss or Oklahoma, but eventually something's going to happen. I think Bryce Enlow is a great example. That was just a grind and grind and grind and grind. The kid was at the Hunt School, but he was overlooked. People would come to the Hunt School, look at this kid, that kid, and this kid, and they'd say, "Man, too short, too slow, whatever." And we kept going, kept pushing, and he eventually got North Carolina A&T, I think, North Carolina A&T. And he got a scholarship offer at a school he wants to play at, and that took a long time. Sometimes it's quick. I thought Hill Greenlee would be quicker, but it's not. So we're going to keep pushing. Hill Greenlee's a 6'8", 285-pound kid out of Texas,
Right.
Who would just a wingspan for ages and has all the physical skills to be definitely sort of a project because he hasn't played varsity football. So he's got some spring varsity highlights. Caleb Gates, another great example. I mean, Caleb Gates, the JUCO kid who got lost in COVID because of COVID. He didn't get evaluated that much. His highlights of his best hits, that kid is legitimate FBS player. Legitimate, period.
How about AC Swadling signing, going to Arkansas Pine Bluff now?
Wait, when did that happen?
Yeah, it just happened like a week ago. He sent it to me. He's going to Arkansas Pine Bluff, FCS. Okay.
He was going. Where was he going
we
before?
came in the emergency end on his, the 2020, right? And he had a couple of things going on, like I think D2.
Oh, he came he was ready to make his decision. This is what's funny because you remember that one. Like I had done his after he made his decision. That's him, right?
AC Swalling, yeah. I did his.
And then I did his later, and he already made his decision. And it was like, well, his dad just DM'd me saying he's looking for a potential opportunity other places, and now he's found it, I guess.
Yeah, he got FCS. He got an offer by Arkansas Pine Bluff. So
it's never too late, and and that was like, you're right. That was like I'm 3 weeks away from my decision. I want to do this. I want you guys to do this to see what happens. We have a place in mind, but you never know. And who knows? Maybe the one I did, I'm not claiming it, but maybe the one I did, after the fact of him already committing, maybe that somebody noticed it, and you'd never know. But I will tell you this: no one's ever going to know if you don't do it. No one's ever going to discover you. Period. Ever. Just not going to happen. I used to play basketball. I told you this story. I think I used to play basketball as a 6-year-old in my yard, and I'm not 6 years old in Vernon, Connecticut. But I used to have this little 6-year-old dream that someday, maybe Red Auerbach was going to drive by and see me shooting threes. And he was going to take me as the first 6-year-old on the Celtics, because that's how 6-year-olds think. That's the thought process of these people who aren't signing up for the promotion. It's never going to happen. It never in a million years would happen. It's childlike thinking to think that it's going to happen. It's just not. You need help. And you got to pay for help. That's life. So, I don't want people to live in this world of, I'm going to send 58 emails and someone's going to see it and we're going to get discovered. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's just not going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. If you work out and you weightlift and you think that you could go put in any type of food in your body and you can get bigger and stronger. Well, the elite athlete could do that, but most people need to take protein shakes. As they get older, they might take creatine that helps them recover and get better, right? It's a supplement. This supplement that we're providing to your recruiting is a significant help for you. And in most cases, this is almost like going on it's almost like going on steroids for some guys. I mean, that's how much it's helped them to really get their recruiting to a different level. And it's what excites me about it. This is really what excites me about it. Every time I see a guy get offered, I just feel like, wow, we're on the right path. We're honest in our approach to evaluating them. We don't say anything about them that we don't see, that we wouldn't talk about if we were talking about like the top 100 players, the things that we like about. We're talking about the things that we like about this player, right? we don't try to make a decision for a college coach. We say what we see, what we like, we promote him, but the college coach still makes the end decision. So I believe the coaches that have come across the program like the fact that we're not, saying, "Hey, take this kid," harassing them over and over again on the phone. Take this kid. Take this kid. Okay, that just turns them off. They'll never pick up your call. People don't realize that this promotion gets out into their feed and allows them to make the decision, and the algorithm says, puts it in front of them saying, oh, by the way, as you're scrolling through your feed, here's a guy that you might want to look at, right? And that's the beauty of it. And then obviously, I hate using the word guru, but that's what it is. Gurus of the industry. Um, we've seen more film on players. You've seen more than me, okay? But we've seen so much film on players over the years, and have evaluated so many players in person and on film, that you get a level of knowledge base that is very, very almost impossible to replicate unless you put in that amount of time and you see so many different players. It's funny. You'll get this. So I was at my son's team was flag football team is mostly second graders, and they play in the championship. It's a second and third grader league, and they were in they made the championship against a team that was mostly third graders, and they lost the game. They played really good, but it was a tough game. They lost, and I said to the father, I said, well, 1 year really makes a big difference, and 1 year making a big difference is the age gap and talent difference between one person and another. Well, what I quickly realized is that he said to me, he said, well, you would know how big of an impact it does make where a lot of people don't. I said, yeah, it's just from a million years. Like, I know from a freshman to a sophomore what happens. I know when somebody's like, and it was interesting hearing from a fellow youth parent. It's just like, I see this immediately, and I could just see this and know, hey, this is going to be a possible long day unless everything goes right. And that's what happens with all the years of evaluating. You see so many different types of athletes that can do different types of things, and you start to realize, oh, this guy can fit here. This guy can fit here. And you adapted really quickly. Obviously, you were doing 4 and 5-star athletes for all those years. And, but you adapted really quickly because you've seen so many films. You've seen guys that, okay, this is not a 4-star. This was a 3-star. In the old days, could be a 2-star, right? So you know the differences, at least at that time frame where they are, what level they're at. So I mean that's a difference maker, and it helps when you're a young college coach, okay, and the head coach and the coordinators deem you with, hey, these are the prospects we need, right? And then go, oh, by the way, go do it, and I'll talk to you next week. Well, it's nice for those guys, the GAs and the position coaches, to have somebody else that's a third party that's saying, this guy's pretty good. You should take a look at him. This is why. Because as they're filtering through the films, they want to go back to the coach with someone that is a player that can do something that helps their own career. And that's why it all works symbiotically with what we do.
Yeah, and there's not a huge difference, honestly. I mean, of course there's a difference between, Trevor Lawrence and, some of the quarterbacks that we're promoting, but when you get right down to it, beyond those 4 and 5 stars and, the whatever it's, you got a 300 or 250 or whatever. Once you get into the 3 stars, there's not a big difference in ability and talent between a 5.7 3-star or a 5.5 3-star. That's how we used to rank them at Rivals. So when you see a kid like Xander Coleman, it's just, he's a mid 3. And had he had that ranking, or had he been on the radar earlier, he would have had offers by now, Power 5 offers. That's part of the process. Sometimes the offers, well, most of the time the offers come before the ranking, and then the ranking is adjusted based on the offers. So if you get a kid who's got like Pitt, West Virginia, Rutgers, and Syracuse, they'll slap a low 3-star on him, but then all of a sudden, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame come in, boom, he's a 4-star magically. That's how that works. But other times, if you get a kid like who has those, offers, or you see him in camp and he's going to get those offers, and you put a 3-star ranking on him, someone will notice that more, and they'll be more apt to offer him too. So it's chicken and egg. But for me, evaluating all these 5-stars, the Jadeveon Clowneys of the world, I'm not going to promote a Jadeveon Clowney level talent, but I'm also not far off. I mean, like I said, the first kid I ever did when we were doing this, I was just like taken aback. I'm like, oh no, is this how it is? Is this is how it is? Like, this is the level? Because it was not great at all. But then we started getting in a groove, and then some of our, Carson Kruger was one of our first ones, Ben Hartman. I looked at these guys and I'm like, these guys aren't bad at all. I could see what they need to work on, and they need to work on it, but they're not horrible football players. I originally thought we were going to be dealing with just awful, awful football players who can't play at all, and we're just trying to social promote them. I don't think we've had one awful football player that we've done the social media promotion. The kid I'm talking about, I'm not going to name names, of course, or mention names or anything, but it was more of an evaluation than it was a promotion. And we're not going to promote that kid. And we're not going to promote kids that just aren't good. We're not just going to take your money if you don't qualify for the program. And that's why when I reach out to kids and parents, I say, I've looked at your film, because that's what I do, and we can help you. Now if I send a message to somebody that I've looked at their film and we can't help them, it's never going to happen. And those people I don't message, your film's not good enough and you're not going to be helped. You're D3 or you're D2 at best, and we can't move the needle on that. But if you're D2, maybe I can get you FCS, if I see something in your film. So that's kind of way it is. But it wasn't a big adjustment, I guess, is my point. I thought it would be bigger. And these are the kids that I ignored for 25 years. Everybody emailing me every second of every day because I was told to ignore. And I didn't have time, honestly. If you're tracking the 5s and 4s and figuring out this kid's going to visit this school, this kid's going to visit this school, this kid's going to this camp, I don't have time for your emails. But also, as a business, we don't care. We didn't care. And I can guarantee you on 3, 24/7, ESPN, Rival, any of these places you email, they don't care. They couldn't care less. Your email is being deleted. Colleges, your email is being deleted as well. They don't have time for you. The only way they're going to make time for you is if they notice you and you become something. And that's why I mentioned Gavin Marshallek didn't exist. The 2026 quarterback from Pennsylvania did not exist. Cash Ferris, the safety from Arkansas, did not exist. They were invisible. Now they're getting articles written about them. Now they don't have offers yet. Syracuse hasn't offered either. Now they have profiles. Eventually they'll get rankings. They did not exist. And now they do. So now when a Marshallek or a Ferris emails somebody, they can, show, listen, I was just at Syracuse's camp. I'm going to head to Temple. And then they can hit up the Temple writer. And the Temple writer's like, oh, this kid's like legitimate. I'm going to, respond to his email. Before, it's just delete, delete, delete. And that's the life that everybody lives. And everybody out there who's not signed up for it, you're getting everything you're sending is getting deleted. You might as well just not send it.
Well, the email thing is like, it just doesn't, email was big back
or
when.
DM is email now. So let's include DM.
No, DM, you might, right. If you're recognized, you can have a conversation. Right.
They're going to delete you in DM just like their email.
Right.
Just going to delete you.
Right. But the email, like when I hear people say, should I email the coach? I'm like, email. I'm like, I haven't utilized email as my main source of recruiting as a football coach since like 2012. Like that's the last time I, utilized it in the same way. And that's because, listen, coaches, it wasn't, in all fairness, it wasn't the players that ruined email. It was a couple of these companies that spammed all the college coaches so much. These other services that spammed them directly so much, their self-service model, that what basically happened was they were forced to like start blocking some of them. You know what I mean? And because they couldn't get the regular function. So
I've blocked people over the years. I've had parents or coaches send me the same email over a kid, like 15 times, and I've blocked them because they become a nuisance. But today's email is DM, right? I mean, you're not going to get the cell phone number of the recruiting coordinator at Arkansas. Likely, you're not going to get that. So you got to DM him and spam him, and he's going to delete it. He's just going to delete it every time. Now he's probably not going to block you because it's a bad look. But if you email him, he's going to delete that too. Back in the day of sending CDs in the mail, they go in the garbage. They went in my garbage. I get so many freaking CDs at my home address. Rivals used to require me to have my cell phone number and my home address on their website. And people would send me just everything. And I'd throw it right in the garbage. I don't have time. I didn't have time. It wasn't our business model. I don't have time now. You can send me your film in DM. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it real quickly now because it's part of our business. And I'm going to see if I can help you. And I'm immediately going to respond to you if I can help you and say, this is how we can help you. But it costs money. And then people are going to be like, well, no, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, then don't send it to me because nobody on this earth is going to look at your film, say, you're really under the radar. You're a diamond in the rough. Let me help you along for free to make your dream come true. I'm not your relative. I'm not your friend. I run a business. And, if you want to be a client, then we take it very seriously. A client like, Zaire Daniel just sent us more workout film. The kid busts his butt. Here's a camp film from Pitt. He busts his butt. This is great. You got a preferred walk-on offer from Pitt. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's awesome. And again, people will be like, "Oh, preferred walk-on. Who cares?" This is a kid who had nothing, and he's going to prep school. To further his ability to try to get colleges involved. Hartman's a preferred walk-on at Oregon State. That's great, but you have options now. Zaire Daniel probably get some FCS scholarships, or he could walk on at Pitt. And now that preferred walk-on at Pitt is occurring, then you get preferred walk-ons elsewhere, and it just moves along there. But that's the thing. Like, if you're a client, then we take you seriously because it's part of our business, and we want to have you succeed. But if you're not, then we're going to just be like every other college coach and just sort of nothing we can do, delete you.
Zoe Small supposedly just had a great camp this weekend. Get that text?
I didn't. No, maybe I did. Was that from Coach?
He just sent it out.
Just now? My phone's off. I get distracted. My phone goes off like a billion times every second of every day. So I turn it off when I'm on a podcast. Because I'll reply to that, right in the middle of the podcast. Like I was DMing that kid about Jaffe and his Oklahoma and Ole Miss offers, and now he's deciding between those schools and Wake Forest. Because this kid was like, have you dealt with anybody who, right on that cusp, and you took them over the edge, to Power 5? And that was one of the examples. I just sent it back to the kid, and I'm like, listen, you're a 2024 6-month program. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but we could probably get you Power 5. You're right there. You just need, and this is what's funny about these websites and stuff like this. And I know this from experience, like they'll believe anything. I've seen it through the years. If you say, a kid has interest from, and we don't do this, we're not going to lie. But if they think you're real, they'll make you real, and then you become more real. It's just kind of weird, and it's not a character flaw on their part or our part or whatever. It's just part of the process. Like if you can somehow get on the radar to be a legitimate Florida State prospect and somebody from a Florida State site writes about you, you're in. Now, if you're lying, I got a Florida State offer or I committed to Florida State, or like some of these kids who just, completely lied about their commitment and offers, you'll be found out and you'll hurt yourself reputation wise. No one will ever listen to you again. But if you can somehow get in that little groove, that little area where it's the schools are interested in you, yes, you're invited to I think we had one of our guys invited to an FSU camp recently. I don't know if they got pulled aside, like at Duke, but it's all perception. Everything's perception. You're not real until you are real. And then when you're real, everything changes. Your entire world shifts. And I think probably the best example for us by far is Marshallek. I don't mean to keep harping on that, but he went from just a invisible to all of a sudden, like a switch flicked, and he's getting invites to come to this camp and this camp and this camp and this camp. You got the UNLV offer, you got this, that. It just changes so fast. But what we work on him for 8 months before that happened, and pushing him out there. And now he's real. Now writers are asking him, where's your next visit? What school are you going to visit? Like, he became real. And that's kind of what we do. We didn't make him a better football player. We didn't make him a worse football player. We didn't do anything. We put his film out there. He became real. And now it's up to everybody, writers, coaches, everybody, to figure out what level he falls at. But now he has traction and he's got buzz. And that's what we create.
I think what's so powerful about that is there are guys that won awards at that camp we ran that did not choose that path, and they're still they got the initial boost of being an MVP, but after that, gone. Right, where Marshallek, he was in the final group, but he didn't win an award, and the fact that he utilized this to get him out there. He passed guys that might have been looked a little bit better than him on that day, and I think that's a powerful thing. Like, when people go to a camp, I say, like, okay, when you go to camp, you might get a boost for a week or so, and maybe if somehow you're the exact right size, you got your 6'7" line or something, maybe something happens above that. But you have to continue. There has to be a follow up. They think they go to a camp and then that's the end. Like, it's all going to happen now. Like, no, you have to keep going to camps, number one, and choose the right camps that you should go to, and college camps, stuff like that. But you have to have a continuous ability to promote what you can do, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of players out there, all with the same objective as you. And if you are out there in the right spot, like ours is, then you're going to have an opportunity to get looked at. You have to separate yourself from the crowd. And I wanted to transition this because this we talked a little bit earlier about the whole Narduzzi Dion thing. Dion said something actually that I thought was really, really flawed. At the same time, it was right. Okay. So he said, if you come to a Colorado camp, I don't know if you saw this, you come to one of our summer camps, you better do something to stand out. Wear neon socks or shirts or some, not cut people in line, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, wow. I said, I'm not saying that doesn't help you stand out, but it makes you stand out possibly for all the wrong reasons, right? And that's not necessarily going to, it might get you, you might cut the wrong guy and he might be laying you out right there on the field on your back. So I thought that was like a correct thing in the sense that could make you stand out. You get more reps and all that stuff, but it also could get you laid out by another player. And is not necessarily the best tactic. What I think is so interesting about it, which was the truth part of it, was you have to stand out, right? And I think his main point was, if you're just one of the guys coming to a camp and just doing nothing special, we're not going to notice you.
And that's really what our stuff is. The difference in our stuff. Ours is the right way to go about doing it. You don't have to go put neon socks and then all of a sudden you ran a 5040 and now you got yourself out of there forever. Um, get qualified by us to make sure that you are someone that we think could be at that higher scholarship level, and then get into the system, because now you're going to be able to be out there in an opportunity for you to get looked at a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, there's tricks and stuff. You see the 7-on-7 tournament earlier this spring where the kid wore a fur coat the whole thing.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. You know, he got noticed. Nobody on earth is ever going to look at that kid ever again. You know, there's like little tricks to the trade, of course. You know, if you go to a camp and you wear like, you're wearing green neon socks and everybody else is wearing something different or whatever, you're going to, stand out because that's the neon sock guy as opposed to a number, but you have to do well. You could,
Correct.
If you're the neon sock guy and you suck, no one's going to care. But if you're, one of the top 5 wide receivers and they're all wearing black socks and their numbers and you're wearing neon and your number, then you stand out a little bit more. Even your haircut. I mean, you could get like, mohawk, blonde, mullet, whatever, all that stuff. But none of it matters unless you're any good. And this isn't about camps. That we're a supplement to camps. I'm not against camps at all. I mean, Marshall, I came to your camp that I was at. He didn't throw well. He didn't have a great day. There were guys there that were better. And then he followed that up and went to the VTO camp, I think it was. And then he followed that up, went to another camp. You just keep pressing and grinding and going. And you're good. You're going to have a better day. He was in the VTO top group, but I don't think his camp performance with us or VTO, I don't think any of that moved the needle for him. I think it was the promotion and the consistent promotion. And then he got on, and then your camp highlights can be seen. But camps are a vacuum, even let's say it's a big camp, and the rivals camps, when I started the rivals camps all those years ago, they were big. One season we were in 16 cities, and we had the 5-star challenge and this, that, now it's down to like, I think 6 camps, no 5-star challenge. It's dying. And the camp industry, as you know, is very hard to make money in, because it's oversaturated and everything's changed from, that was 10 years ago. We started they were Under Armour camps when Under Armour put in a ton of money and we were on top of the world in the camp business. Now you could go to one of those camps, one of the big ones. I don't even know if Nike does them anymore or whatever.
No,
you don't. Can stand out and coaches will look at it, but much less than they used to. 10 years ago, if you went to a camp, like we did a camp in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and we had our positional MVPs and our overall MVPs, and we invited kids to the 5-star challenge. And if there was a kid, as a positional MVP who was, a sophomore or unknown, he would get on the radar immediately. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, there used to be a business model of selling camp video to colleges. That's dried up. Colleges would much rather have layups. They'd rather see the film through a social media platform than, have to contact a company, buy the film. And there's a couple business models, and I'm friends with both people who run these business models where they sell the film, and it's great and they make money doing it. But colleges are less inclined to do that now when they can just go on social media and see a kid. So there's so many advantages to it. It's kind of ad nauseum. We just keep going over and over it.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, listen, it works and it continues to work. It doesn't surprise me. It works. Every kid has had some level of success. Every kid who's done more than one timer, and we don't offer the one timer anymore. It's pretty much, 6 months or a year. But the one timer, to me, it's impossible to succeed with a one timer. We'd warn people, would say, listen, if you do the one timer, we'll take it, we'll do it for you. But this is a grind. This takes consistent effort. And they would do the one timer, and some of them would sign up for a longer, back when we were offering by month. And then they would have success. And some would just do the one timer and just disappear and never get the needle moved. You need consistent. That's why we sell 6 months. That's why we sell 12 months. You need the consistent push, constant, and it's going to work. It works every time. And I'm not saying you're going to get an Alabama offer. I'm not even saying you're getting an FCS offer. Whatever your sweet spot is for your ability, it's going to work to the highest level of that ability. If your best is D2, you're going to land D2. We had the kid, AIC? I'm not sure if that's D2 or D3. That was his sweet spot. He wanted that.
D2. That's D2.
And then you got Jaffe, Power 5, and we're talking high-level Power 5, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Whatever your skill level is, you're going to top out at the top level of that if you do the promotion. And that's probably, the best example I can give you is like, we can't make you better. We can make you seen. And then if you're seen, then we'll see where you land.
Right. No doubt about it. That's all. That's awesome. If you want to transition to a little bit of the things that are going on today, I guess it's within recruiting. The whole the transfer portal thing, and there's two sides of it where you have, I guess, at the extremes, you have Dion, who probably has the most that have been shipped out and are shipping in. And then probably the other extreme, which is Dabo, who is takes almost none, right? I mean,
Yep.
or a few, I guess. Takes a few.
Yeah, definitely extremes.
Massive extremes. Then in the middle of it was the controversy of is Pat Narduzzi, who obviously hates not the transfer portal, but how Dion per se utilizes it. And then Dion fired back, and there's been a whole this back and forth. Well, what I think is so interesting about it, I mean, obviously in a dead time like right now, it's a huge story. If this was during the season, I don't even think anyone would bat an eye. But it begs the question is there? This is to me. Is morality of what's perceived right and wrong even a worthwhile interest when you have the two extremes like Dabo, who doesn't do it, Dion, who if you're a Colorado fan, you love it. If you're someone like Pat Narduzzi, he thinks he's abusing the system, right? So, what do you think about all of that kind of stuff?
It's there is a sweet spot. Obviously the portal is there. You don't want to be a fan of Clemson and have Dabo just say, I'm not dealing with the portal. He said my transfer portal is back there, and he's pointing back to his locker room. And I guess I know he wants to develop high school players. He wants loyalty. He wants culture. He's got a great culture. They're a great football team. They're going to compete, again for a playoff spot next year. Eventually it will catch up to him because people are, you look at the teams he lost to, Ohio State, Justin Fields and Trey Sermon beat him in their transfers. And I think there was, I forget who he lost to. There was another team he lost to that had, key players as transfers. It might have been Alabama, when they had Henry Tuoto and Jamison Williams and those guys. It's going to catch up to you. But you also don't want to do what Dion did, which is purge your entire roster. Now, Dion's defense was, I inherited a 111 football team. It's the worst football team in Power 5. I got to do what I got to do. And I get it. There should be technically no loyalty. We're in an NIL world now where you're paid for play, so you're an employee. But at Colorado, at 111, you're not NIL lucrative, and you're not a good team. And those kids were promised scholarships. And people don't understand, scholarships are essentially year to year. It's not a 4-year guarantee of a scholarship. But those, to run them into the portal, Randy Edsall did it when he was at Maryland before the portal. He just ran kids off the football team, and it didn't work for him very well at all because he was horrible at Maryland. It's not going to work well for Dion at all either. Narduzzi's, he's a big mouth. He likes to comment on everything, and I don't mind that. And he's hurt because Jordan Addison got stolen away from him by USC, and Texas was in there as well. And of course there was tampering. There's tampering with every kid in the portal. Nobody goes into the portal without talking to another school. Just doesn't happen. Now the NCAA is not enforcing this; they're doing nothing about it. So some levels are worse. Some levels are Narduzzi called out Lincoln Riley for tampering with Jordan Addison. Some levels are like, hey Jordan, jump in the portal. We've got NIL deals like crazy for you out here at USC. That's likely what happened with Jordan Addison. I don't have proof, but that's likely what happened. Others are a little bit more innocent. But Dave Clawson said it at Wake Forest, and he wasn't calling out Notre Dame specifically, but he lost Sam Hartman. He said every year you have to re-recruit your own roster. Deion's going to have to do it too. This is the other thing. You bring in 50-plus transfers. Those guys are A, likely to transfer because they're doing it now. So B, they're going to be guys that might jump into the portal again if the season doesn't go great, if the weather's not what they like, if that – if everything, it's kind of like, I don't know, cheaters. If you date a cheater, they cheated on someone else, they might cheat on you too. And that's kind of how it is with the portal. So, you got to be aware, but Deion's doing what he's got to do. I don't think it's very ethical. I probably would chastise the athletic director more so than Deion, because he's the one who hired him and said, you could do whatever you want, and we back you on doing this. But Narduzzi's butthurt because he lost Jordan Addison, and he doesn't have that power to go and steal a star player from another program. There are programs that can steal his star player. So it's just not fair. But to me, I would balance the portal. I want 70% high school, 30% portal, maybe 80-20. Dabo's 99-1, and Deion is 10% team and 90% portal. I want that sweet spot of 75-25, 80-20. I think I lost you. Am I alone now? I'm alone. Dave's gone. What do I do? I guess I could end it. Yeah, he's not going to be able to get back in.
Oh,
There you are. I was alone for a while.
you're alone. I heard the end of your talk of the portal, and all of a sudden I was out to lunch. I was frozen, and I'm like,
Well,
why?
I figured you had to get back in to save it. So, but yeah, like I said, I would want 75-25, 80-20 on the portal. I wouldn't ignore the portal. I would do a lot of research on kids as to why they're in there, because it's just like similar to JUCO. When you recruit JUCO, Bill Snyder did it amazingly at Kansas State, and he was probably the only one who was super successful in building, the majority of his class through JUCO. But they're in there for a reason, like academics or attitude or homesickness or whatever. Most of them are in there for a reason, so you got to do your research.
Well, I think that's a great point in the transfer portal. Now, obviously, there's the Jordan Addisons of the world that were looking to upgrade their situation. Are kids looking to upgrade to go to Colorado? That can't be the case. Like I know they made a big thing about some guys came from Alabama, some of these big schools, but were they the stars at those schools? No.
No. So Dion's pitch is essentially, this is what I've heard from
Okay.
sources. His pitch is, come here and we'll make you a star. We'll brand you from name, image, likeness. You'll be on TV every game because, of course, now everybody's interested in Colorado. It's none of it's team related. The ones he pitched that to that were team focused, some of the better players in the portal that didn't choose him, they didn't like that. They're like, that's not what I'm going for. I want, of course, name, image, likeness. I want to brand myself, but I also want to play on a team that's good. His pitch is, like Travis Hunter followed him from Jackson State, and Dion came out and said that Travis had $1.3 million deals and other stuff like that. And maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Travis, I think, followed Dion because he wants to keep his brand alive and he wants to tie his brand to Dion. And so none of these kids are superstar Jordan Addisons who are just leaving because they want, a better situation. Jordan Addison left because Mark Whipple left. Narduzzi and Mark Whipple didn't get along. Mark Whipple left. His wide receiver coach Brennan Marion left. That's why he looked at Texas, and his quarterback was gone. So, he looked at USC. I can get Caleb Williams. I get Lincoln Riley. I can get the best of all worlds. Nobody's doing that for Colorado.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's the biggest, I think that's the biggest difference. And then I think when you have, I don't know how many guys it is, but like 50 guys, like how do you get all those people to gel that don't all have no alignment necessarily to the school? Like they didn't go to, I don't know. They didn't go to Colorado because they said, Colorado is a place I've always interested in going to, right? Like whereas, like Matt Rule's approach, I always say Matt Rule, like he might lose the first year or two, but he gets kids that want to be at the school he's at when he was at Baylor, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, and he wins because of that. He's going to get guys from Nebraska that would obviously be great players. He wants great players, but also will have an interest in the Nebraska mystique, right? And what Nebraska represents, whatever that is, right? So that's the issue with Colorado. Like, what happens the first snowfall to some of these guys, okay, who are from the South? This is what I think about with Colorado in particular. This is not like Dion took over. I don't know. I think of a terrible program in Texas or something. I don't know if there is one. Texas State or something where it's warm all the time and you recruit all Southern guys. You go to Colorado and it snows there, and you bring guys from the South who don't know what snow is. I just noticed because I played at UConn and we used to bring in Florida guys, and I could tell you, we had coaches. So and so's at the airport. What do you mean he's at the airport? He's at the airport. Like we'd be driving. I remember one of my buddies. We drove in a coach. We said, "Can you?" Because whoever he was friends with, drive to the airport right now. Call him. Tell him you're coming there, and then the coach would meet him. We'd come to the airport to save him. Like we had that happen dozens of times with Florida players because the first time it snowed. First of all, a lot of them didn't have a jacket. Eventually, we worked that out. Somehow, jackets appeared in their lockers. Even back in the days, even in FCS program, they appeared in their lockers. But they didn't have a jacket. And then,
certified by JD Power. So
Where's that coming from? Hold on.
what's a gimmick?
Yeah. Hold on. What the hell?
do you have something open?
Keep going. One of my tabs just decided to run a commercial. Go ahead.
So probably ESPN tab.
I muted that one. It was still going, so it must have been something else. But yeah, to your point, I mean, Cormani McClain is the kid, the 5-star cornerback from Florida who committed to. He was supposed to commit to Florida. He ended up committing to Miami. He's going to Colorado, and he's following Dion. Travis Hunter is following Dion. He's from Georgia. Now, following Dion to Jackson State was kind of crazy. for a kid who was considered one of the top 3 players in the country for Travis Hunter. But at least it was warm. Armani McLean's going to go up there. If they go 1-11 again, or 3-9, and it's freezing cold and there's nothing to do, you're going to be in the portal quick. And a lot of these kids are not used to that weather. So it is what it is. It's not going to be successful. He's going to get drilled. I mean, they opened the season with TCU. TCU lost, their quarterback and their, first round wide receiver and all that. They're still a really good football team. These guys don't know each other at Colorado. They're going to get to know each other a little. Few of them enrolled and, played in the spring. The rest are going to learn about each other in the fall. They're going to get drilled by TCU. And then their game 4 and 5, they have USC and Oregon. So they're going to get drilled there. Like the one game they play Nebraska, and then they play Colorado State. Maybe they win one of those. I mean, Colorado State's horrible, but so's Colorado. So that's a toss-up. And then you got Nebraska, who's not good, but they're better than Colorado. He could go 0-5. If he goes 0-5, what do you think's going to happen? You think the airport was crowded at UConn? It's going to be crazy.
Right. And that was my point about that also, is that those are FCS kids that, when I was at UConn, we were FCS. Those are FCS kids. It wasn't like an FCS kid had, 50 million options he could go to after. An FCS kid, he goes home, he's going to have to figure out what he's doing next. Can he find a school to take him, right? So, and they were willing to leave. Like, you had to convince them to stay. And there were kids that left. We had a lot of Florida kids that were there in camp. They were there for the fall, and all of a sudden it was cold, and they're like, "I'm out of here, coach. Like, this is not for me. This is not, There obviously there are plenty of Florida kids that succeeded too. But my point is that you could legitimately have like a 30 to 50% churn on Southern guys with respect to Colorado, just because the weather is not what they're used to. It's not, if you grew up like we grew up in the Northeast, we're used to it. Do I love cold? No. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm used to it. It wouldn't have bothered me to play in it, right? I enjoyed playing it because I feel like, hey, you know what? I played my whole life. But if you never played it, the greatest story ever was Bob Hayes, and you know this, when they went up to the Packers, and Dallas was a better team. They lost to Packers, and the Packers then won the Super Bowl, whatever it was, the NFC Championship back then. But Bob Hayes, who was the fastest guy in the world, literally in the world, won the Olympics in the 100-meter dash, 9.9. Okay, he would not take his hands out of his pants. Like, he had his hands in his pants, lined up to run routes. Like in Wisconsin cold, like Green Bay. Now Green Bay needed everything they could to beat them because Dallas was really the better team. They had the better team, and Green Bay pulled it out because purely those guys wanted nothing to do with it. This is long before people like gloves or anything like that. Bob Hayes had his hands in his pants, didn't want to run the routes, didn't do any blocking. He was freezing his what off, and he wasn't used to that. And that's what's going to happen. Obviously, you have more things now like gloves and things like that. But still, cold is cold, man.
Yeah, and it gets cold in Boulder. And we don't even know if Dion can coach. That's the other thing. I mean, Jackson State was, the best of the best of FCS. They followed, like Travis Hunter went there because it was Dion. So he had a super team, and he won with it. This is not a super team. This is probably the worst team in the Pac-12, if not, one of the top 2 or 3 worst teams in the Pac-12. And they're going to get drilled. And then what happens, once they get drilled? So it's going to be interesting. It's a great hire on Colorado's part because we're talking about Colorado. We would never be talking about Colorado ever. And Colorado's talked about on a daily basis in college football. The spring game is the only one ESPN televised. Their games are on TV. Every game's going to be on TV, probably prime games too. Like TCU, I think is a primetime game. No, it's a big noon. They got 2 big noons. So, they got the Fox big noon and then Nebraska's big noon. Like they're getting attention. It's a genius hire because of him. They're going to suck. And then it's going to be like, okay, was Dion a bad hire? Was he over his head? Was the portal thing a mistake? Blah, blah, blah. And then people are going to talk about it. And Narduzzi's probably going to come out and say stuff. It's going to be great. It's great for college football. But it's kind of a circus. And if he's successful, let's say he surprises everybody. Let's say he goes 8-4 his first year. Then you're going to get celebrity coaches hired. Keyshawn Johnson at USC, and I'm not saying they're going to fire Lincoln Riley or anything like that. I'm just making examples. Ray Lewis at Miami. Like you're going to see more. Peyton Manning at Tennessee or Tom Brady at Michigan. If they want to be coaches, celebrity coaches will become a thing because this is the first ever celebrity coach. And if he's successful, it's going to be replicated and copied. And that's going to be interesting to see how college football goes too. So no matter what happens, win, lose, it's going to be very, very good for college football and fun and controversial. I could write about Dion every day and people would click on it. So it's great.
Well, Ed Reed, Bethune-Cookman tried Ed Reed as the celebrity coach, and that lasted a week.
Yeah, it was just – and sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. Dion's been coaching for a while. He had his own school in Texas, which disbanded, and now Jackson State and stuff. So he's at least coached.
He has coached.
Whereas out of the blue guys, like Ray Lewis, just plugging him in at Miami would be kind of funny. Throwing Tim Tebow at Florida as a first-time head coach, but it could happen. Right now. It's funny, years and years ago, it was imagine if we had Donald Trump as a president. Well, we did. Imagine if we had Deion Sanders as, the head coach at Florida State, which could happen.
That could happen.
You just don't think these things could happen. And once they do happen, then it becomes commonplace. Okay, should Mark Cuban run for president? He's no qualifications whatsoever. And that's kind of how college football will be too. But we got to wrap it up because it's been over an hour.
Yeah, we'll wrap up. The first, and he turned out to be great. I liked him a ton. Ronald Reagan was our first
celebrity, and he was a great president. To me, I was young. I didn't know, but I liked it.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger followed the exact platform that Ronald Reagan had when he took over as governor. Took advantage of. By the way, there's a great Netflix. I don't know if you interested in Arnold Schwarzenegger or not, because we were young. He was an '80s action hero, right? But the great Netflix series on Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, very interesting.
I haven't seen it's out. I'll look at it. I'm interested because from a bodybuilding perspective, I was never into bodybuilding or anything like that, but it was always interesting. Him and Lou Ferrigno, and then. Lou Ferrigno becoming the Hulk, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming a star, and then the whole thing about sleeping with his maid, and then being married to a Kennedy, and then and then running for office and all that stuff. It's certainly intriguing. The guy spoke broken English when he arrived, and he became one of the biggest stars ever. So that type of stuff intrigues me. But yeah, maybe. The best case scenario for Colorado is Deion's successful for 2 years, but then he's going to get a bigger, better job, and then they could get somebody else in there. But, Mel Tucker left Colorado 5-7, got hired by Michigan State, made a $100 million contract. Deion's going to get hired by somebody. If he goes 4-8, somebody's going to hire him. They'll be gone. Then you got a roster full of transfers, and someone's going to have to come in there and build it from the foundation of high school football recruiting again. And it's going to be, no matter what, this is going to end poorly for Colorado, but they know that going in, and they're just taking the notoriety that they're getting right now. As conference realignment occurs, Colorado is now a hot name. When it comes to, let's say, the Big 12 trying to expand, they would go, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado now. And before this, not in a million years would they even think about Colorado. So great for them, great for college football, great for us because we can talk about it. There's no losing here.
Absolutely. All right. Well, till next time, before we leave, myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo, DM us if you are interested. It is a great opportunity to really get yourself out there to get promoted and to really get your opportunity in college is what you're looking for. Until next time.